Hello and welcome everyone. Crosstown Gamer here, and today we're going to officially start our playthrough of Falling Sky, the Gallic Revolt against Caesar. In video 1, we went through an overview of what we're looking at, as well as various rules. And so if you missed that portion and would like to catch up to where we are, go ahead and look at the first video there. Otherwise, if you want to jump straight into the playthrough with no preamble or minimal preamble, then go ahead and continue watching as well. We didn't touch on a lot of the battle-specific rules or bot-specific rules. We're going to get those as they come up. But for now, let's go ahead and start our playthrough. So just a quick reminder before we get started, I will be playing as the Roman Republic and with Julius Caesar, and I'll be playing against the other factions, which will be controlled. The Gallic factions are going to be controlled by the bots. The bots are a little more complicated in this, I think, than they were in Cuba Libre, so hopefully I don't make too many mistakes, but as always, please be sure to point those out in the comments so we can all learn, and as the playthrough goes on, hopefully I'll make fewer and fewer of those. So let's look at the first card here. We've got War Fleet. The event is move any of your warbands, auxilia, legions, or leaders among the Arverni region, Pictonus region, and the regions within one of Britannia. Then execute a free command in or from one of those regions. So the initiative order here has the Belgic player going first. And we're going to note, just in case we're going to do this event, the little laurel wreath symbol above those indicates that there are special instructions that we're going to need to look up if they are going to do the event. Otherwise, if they're not, then we'll see what happens. So, Arverni up first. Let's look at their flowchart. So we've got command or event. First thing is going to be the condition we're checking is Ambiorix or 4+ Belgic warbands where there's a non-German enemy that has an ally, citadel, legion, or 4+ pieces. Ooh, bit of a mouthful, but let's take a look at the board and see if we can parse this out. So we're looking for Ambiorix or a bunch of yellow pieces where there's non-German ally, citadel, legion, or a bunch of pieces, or any combination of those. So yellow is confined up here to Belgica pretty much. They're in the Treveri region as well. So first thing to note is Ambiorix is here and 4+ Belgic legions, and they're against a fort as well as a legion as well as 4+ enemies. So this is a prime location example of where that condition is fulfilled. So we'll take one of these markers and we'll put it there to indicate that looks like a spot where that would happen. So the answer is yes, that does exist. There are actually other spaces on the board that meet those conditions. For example, here there's 4+ Belgic legions against a fort and a Roman legion here. So that's one. This is one up here. We got 4 warbands against a legion. So there's a couple of spots on the board, but just to check the condition, that's a yes. So now, we didn't really talk about the battle function here. So I'm going to spend a little time talking about that, and hopefully it'll start to make sense as we check both this player aid here as well as the player aid that goes over the battle procedures. So I know this is another confusing flowchart, but really it's not that bad once you get a feel for it. All these steps are pretty logical and well laid out here. So in a normal battle situation, so say we're going to battle in this region here, which is Treveri. The attacker, which is the Belgic player, is going to select one faction to defend. Well, the only other faction in there is going to be the Romans, but if it were a different location, say up here, they'd have to pick between the Germans and the Romans. So they're going to pick a faction to defend. That's going to be us as Romans. Then the defender has an option to retreat. So if the Belgic player is doing one of their special special activities. What are they called in this? Yeah, special abilities. Sorry, which is ambush. Then there is no such thing as a retreat. Germans never retreat, or if they don't have any mobile forces, what that means is they don't have any warbands or auxilia or legions defending, and they only have forts or allied tribe discs. Those can't move, so then they can't retreat. So there's a yes and a no. Suppose we're going to stand and fight in that region. We're not even going to pay attention to this half of the flowchart anymore. We're going to do this attack step. So to attack, check, does the defender, Rome, have a citadel or fort? In this instance, yes, we do. So all of our losses are halved, which is good. This is a pretty neat system in that, like, the majority of the outcomes are not determined. I mean, you can sort of calculate you can calculate at the beginning how many losses you're going to take, and it's not subject to a die roll. But the die roll comes into play when you're absorbing those losses, and I'll explain that in just a second. So it's a really cool system. But so since we have a fort there, we're going to have the losses. Then, is it an ambush or a Germanic attack? Suppose it's not. Then we're going to just do our regular. We're going to absorb our losses here, and then we're going to get to counterattack, and the attacker will receive normal losses. So if it was an ambush, there is no counterattack, so you have to do some extra stuff there. But the basic gist of it is you pick a defender. If they've got a fort or a citadel, then they take half losses. Otherwise, they take normal losses. They're going to attack. The defender will have to absorb those losses. And then depending on if there's an ambush that takes place, there's a counterattack step that takes place as well. And then everything gets flipped to revealed. So unless they were ambushing, no, that's not true. If they're ambushing, they still get flipped to revealed. So that's what happens if you attack. There's an attack, there's a counterattack, and Bob's your uncle, then you're fine. If you do retreat, there's a few extra rules. The defender is going to take half losses, and instead of the stand and fight situation where the allies, forts, and citadels are last because the soldiers are actually there fighting and they're absorbing the losses first, in this, the defender is retreating, and so it's the things that they're leaving behind, the forts and the citadels, that end up taking the damage first. But because they're retreating, you're taking half losses again. And then there's some extra rules about where you can retreat to. You can effectively retreat to a location where you have control or there is no control. And if it has control otherwise, so say if we wanted to retreat into this region, the Arverni don't have control. This is a misfire here. I think I flipped my markers around. But suppose the Arverni did have control of that region, then they would end up taking, or they would have to ask for permission to go in there. I don't honestly know how the bots handle retreats when it comes to permission, so we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But that's the basic gist. So I think what we're going to do here then is we'll go through it in a little more detail. The way you calculate losses too, just 'cause if you're like, well, how do I do that? Honestly, this is a little bit confusing to me, so I just tend to have it kind of memorized. If you want to watch the Ben Harsh rules videos for, I think it's number 2 that goes up over the battle procedure, it lays it out in a much more clear and concise way, and that's how I learned how to do this, so I do recommend those quite a bit. But each warband or auxilia, each hexagonal cylinder, is going to provide half a loss, so 1/2 point of losses. Every legion or leader is going to provide 1 loss. So in this, Belgic player was attacking, we were standing and fighting, they're going to provide half, 1.5, 2 points of loss on us. They're going to inflict that. Because we have a fort that's rounded down, and you always, halved, you always round down. So 2 gets halved to 1, rounded down is 1. So we would take 1 point of loss here, we would remove this, and then we'd get to counterattack with our 1.5 losses, and so that would round down to 1, and they would absorb 1 of the losses too. Hopefully that makes sense. There are some extra special rules. If you're attacking with Ambiorix, every warband contributes 1 point of loss instead of the normal half. And there's some rules against defending against Caesar. Yeah, so the leaders are a bit of an extra special case, but hopefully that's spelled out when we come to that so we don't forget. Regardless, I've been talking for 11 minutes on how battles work. So we said this was true. So they're going to battle only where Belgic losses are less than the enemy's, and there's no loss on Ambiorix. So the locations where they're going to go, or they're going to check for this, is if Ambiorix meets the condition at the left, but will not battle due to these above, then they would march instead. So let's just check. Ambiorix needs to be able to inflict more losses than the Roman player would. So 1, and then because it's with Ambiorix, 2, 3, 4, 5 points of loss. 5, that will get halved down to 2. But 2.5, but that'll round down to 2. But then when the counterattack happens, so they'll have to absorb 2 losses, and then at max, the Roman player would only be able to provide 2 losses as well. So they're only going to attack where Belgic losses are less than the enemy's. So, but first, we have to check the box at the right. Okay. First battle at the left, but only if... Yeah, Belgic losses less than enemies. I think it's because they ambush. Man, it's really easy when you're playing without the bots, because you can just decide if you want to attack or not. So Ambiorix does meet the condition. I think he will attack because the Belgic losses are going to be less than the enemy's. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think he does there because he's going to end up checking for ambush first. So in first battle per box at left, but only if retreat could lessen removals, then they're going to ambush. In all other battles, okay, only if retreat could lessen removals and or counterattack loss to Belgium. Oh yeah, so because there's a counterattack possible, they're going to ambush. Because with ambush, got it. Okay. So sorry for the confusion there, a couple minutes of confusion, but this is what's happening. We're going to inflict 2.5 points, or the Belgic player is going to inflict 2.5 points of loss on the Romans, which is us. Then, if we would be able to counterattack, we would be able to counterattack with 2 losses on the Belgic player. 2 is equal to 2, so you would normally think, oh, they're not going to attack then. But it's stated in the rules. I don't know if it's not really outlined on the bot chart super clearly. But they're going to check whether they have the ability to ambush first. And when you ambush, there's no counterattack that happens. So then the Belgic losses that it's inflicting on the Romans would be 2, and the Roman losses that it would be inflicted onto the Belgic player is going to be 0 because they're not allowed to counterattack. So long story short, they are going to be able to ambush there. So they're at least going to ambush, and they're going to battle in in locations where any conditions, any spaces where fighting enemies meet the conditions at the left, which is this diamond here. And within that, they're going to prioritize Ambiorix versus enemy with fewer mobile forces than Belgae. So again, this is... the enemy has 4 mobile pieces. Belgae have 5 here, so they're going to prioritize that location first. So they're going to go there, and they're also going to battle in those couple of other locations we outlined before. This is 4 Belgic forces against a legion, so that's true. This is 4 against a fort and a legion, so this is true. And I think that's it as far as conditions that meet the diamond criteria. Not here because they only have 3, and it's not against a legion or a fort. Then, the last thing they're going to check is, are they going to fight any other spaces with non-Germans? The Germans are up here, but we already said we're going to fight here, the Romans. So now they are going to select the space to battle, because they battle basically in as many places as possible. And so that's going to be 4 locations for them. And they're going to do this ambush, and it's going to be in all of them, all the battles, because they're ambushing in the first battle. So because they're ambushing in the first battle, it's going to be all the battles. So we've got 4 things to check. Let's see how ambush works, because I haven't actually shown you that yet. So as you can see, there's this big old procedure for battle. They're going to do any special ability. They've chosen ambush. So battles that begin with more hidden Belgae than hidden defenders, and are within 1 region of Ambiorix or with his successor. So legions never count as hidden. So here they have more hidden warbands than the defenders. So they have Ambiorix, so they're going to ambush here. Again, here they have more, so they're ambushing there. They're able to ambush here, and lastly, they're able to ambush there. So they're able to do it. Those are all within 1 region of Ambiorix as well. So they get, they meet all of these requirements. Yep, within 1 region of Ambiorix or with his successor. Yep, so this is true. And so the procedure is no retreat unless versus Caesar, but Caesar's way down here in Provincia, so that's not going to happen. On a 5-6, yeah. So no retreat. Yep. So the procedure here is going to be cost 1 per region, 2 if devastated. No spaces are devastated yet, so it's going to be 1 resource per region for them. So 4 resources, 1, 2, 3, 4, to do the battle. And in turn order attack, do this. We're not allowed to retreat because it says no retreat. So they've selected the Romans in all of those spaces. We're not retreating. Then they take losses as per below. Yeah, and then the losses are half per enemy, 1 loss per warband if defending versus Ambiorix. So yeah, it just kind of spells out how the losses work there. So we've already effectively done it up here. We noted there's 5 loss points here, rounded by down by half, or divided by half because of the fort. So that becomes 2 loss points, and we're going to absorb it with the Exilia because the legions, when they absorb a point of loss, you can roll a die, and on a 4 through 6 they survive, and on a 1 through 3 those end up getting removed. So you think like, oh man, these are strong pieces, there's a chance that we don't have to absorb any losses at all. That would be great, but the problem is I'm not going to chance it with my dice rolls. I know they're not great. So I think like there's a good chance we end up losing a legion and go in this Fallen Legion box. And then the Arverni player, whose some of their conditions are based on, win conditions are based on Fallen Legions or in the Legion box, they're going to be that much closer to victory, and it's going to be really hard to get those legions back. So we'll absorb them with the Exilia. 2 points of loss there. And we don't get to counterattack because of the dang old ambush. So that was that region. down here, 2 points of loss against us, but the fort rounds it down to 1, so we're going to take 1 away. We do not get to counterattack because they're ambushing. Oh man, that's so brutal. One last thing we forgot to do here is we forgot to flip all these to active. I'm probably going to forget that every time, which is a huge part of the game. So don't forget. Don't be like me. Here, these all flip. These flip. So we're starting out with easy mode because there's no retreat and no counterattack. But that's how the battles work. Here we have 1.5 points of loss. It rounds down to 1. There's no fort or anything, so 1 point of loss. So these all flip, and this gets removed. And then up here, so we got 2 points of loss, no rounding. So first point of loss is here. Now the second one is a legion, so we get to roll a die, and 1 through 3, it goes away. So we're hoping for high numbers here. So let's roll and see how it goes. Come on. Ooh, 4. Just barely got it. So the legion stays there. Thank God. Okay. So let me just finish putting these away. And pawns go away. So that was the Belgic players' ambush and battle. Or battle and ambush, sorry. So that was 20-minute first faction on one card, but now we've done all the legwork for battles, so the future should be very bright for us. And now we're going to go on to the Arverni player. I know there's a huge fat stack of cards, and if we can only get through one card this video, that'll be unfortunate, but these will go faster because I won't have to explain battles every single time. But that is the most complicated part, so I do want to put the legwork in because if you're learning the game, it can seem daunting at first. So the Arverni player has those options. The non-player aid for the Arverni indicate that, okay, commander event is Vercingetorix or 10 plus Arverni warbands where there are Romans or the Aedui have an ally citadel legion or greater than 3 pieces. So they're looking for places with 10 plus warbands and Vercingetorix against Romans or Aedui. Well, Vercingetorix is down here, and there's no one else in this space. And there's a space where they're with Aedui, but there's no spaces where they have 10 or more warbands. So that's looking like a big ol' no. Arverni, by sequence of play, may use the event. Yes, because we moved. The Belgic player did a command plus special ability. That leaves the event open through sequence of play. So it's a yes. Is the event ineffective? Or is the capability, or there's a capability and it's in the final year? Well, no, we're in the first year. We're in the first thing card. Or the no Arverni. No Arverni is, I believe it's this symbol. It's we can check on the events. I just wish I knew where that was. Here we go. So is the event ineffective? Well, it has some special instructions, so let's see what they are. It's called War Fleets. So it's this one. And you can see that they have some instructions here. See how it's like treat as no Arverni is here. So I don't think it's ineffective. I think they want to do the event based on this. So they want to move as many warbands and leader to take Arverni control of a region with player pieces. First Roman, then Aedui, then Belgic. And then battle that player there. Great. So more battles. Yeah, because they get a free command. And so they're going to move among the Arverni, Pictonus, and regions within 1 of Britannia. Well, Arverni region's down here. They already have control. Pictones, but they have all their troops here, so they get those as options. Pictones does not have control. It doesn't have anyone there. And within one region of Britannia. So Britannia is empty. Veneti is empty. And then they can go here or here as well. So based on the special instructions, it says they want to basically take control of other regions with player pieces, and then battle that player there. So they're looking for Roman, then Aedui, then Belgi. Now, what's interesting, I don't think we're going to get any more confirmation in the rules about the specific event, but it says with player pieces. To me, that's a little confusing because it could mean player pieces or non-player pieces. Like, do they just mean player pieces, in which case it's only the Romans? Or do they just mean pieces there at all? Like, why would they say player? I hope that makes sense. There's only one player, so any pieces on the board that aren't Roman would be non-player pieces. But we're going to just assume then that they just mean any pieces on the board. If that's wrong, let me know in the comments. So they're going to target spaces with Roman control first, then Aedui, then Belgic control. Actually, just a space where they're able to take control with pieces within one of Britannia. That counts as a space right there. So I think, move as many warbands as leaders as possible to take Arverni control of a region that has Roman pieces, basically, and then battle the player there, battle the Romans there. So this is a spot with Roman pieces. There's 5 pieces here, so they need to be able to take control of this region first. So they would need 5, 6, 7. There's 7 things here. So do they have 7? They do if they carry everyone with them. So and if they leave this region, they still retain control of the Arverni region because they have a disc here. So that counts as a piece for them. So based on the event, they're going to move between this region, and these 3 regions. And based on the non-player rules, they're going to choose this region because it has the ability to take control of it, and they can battle Romans there, and specifically a legion. So this is right up their alley. This is exactly what they want to do. Okay, so this flips to Arverni control because they have 7 pieces, and there are only 6 opposing pieces there, so they get control of this. Because the Belgic player lost control, and this has 2 discs in it, that means that the Belgic player is actually going to go down 2 on the track there, because they just lost control of that region. Then they're going to battle the Romans here. Now, we as Romans have the option to retreat. We could retreat into Britannia, I think. I don't know if you can retreat across... I don't know if you can retreat across, like, the English Channel there. Or, it's not the English Channel. Across the channel there. And I definitely want to retreat because that's like, at least 4 points of loss that we would just get obliterated. Basically, we'd have to roll and roll so successfully. So I want to retreat. We can't retreat here or here because the Belgic player controls it, and they're not going to harbor our retreat, I don't think. It's hard to know. I need to look that up. So give me just 1 second here. I want to see if I can A, retreat across water, and B, if I can't, then do the Belgic player harbor retreat for us. And I don't think that's true. So hold on. Okay, so I did look up this here. If the Gallic factions are battling, which is true here, Vercingetorix is battling, then the defender selects one adjacent region that is under control of the defender or another faction that has agreed, but not no control. So even though it does say we can move across the water, I saw that in the rules, we can do this, but because there's no control here, we actually can't retreat into there. We can only retreat into a faction, a region where a faction controls it. And then I looked up later in the book, in the non-player rules, the Arverni and the Belgic player never agree to harbor refugees or retreatees, people that are retreating. So basically, we double check how the battle works for the Arverni player. I don't think Vercingetorix, I think he counts as one, yes, one per enemy legion and leader, but he's not like Ambiorix where he makes all of the warbands count as, extra. Because see, here it says 1 loss per warband if defending versus Ambiorix, but that's not true here. So Vercingetorix will count as a loss, but the warbands are only going to be half a loss each. So we can't retreat. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and then 4th for Vercingetorix. So that's 4 losses against this 1 legion. So we just got to roll our lucky stars out. 4 times we need a 4 through 6 to survive this. It's not going to happen, but here we go. Yeah, right away. Instantly, this is lost. It goes down here into the Fallen Legions box, and off-map legions went up to 5. That didn't cost any resources because it was the event. So it did that because it said a free command, and that's what it was. It was a free battle. And so I think that's the that's the gist there for that card. So just a quick recap. The Belgic player fought us down, fought us hard. All of our legions survived, and maybe we want to either bring some auxilia up to help defend them next turn, or we can get the heck out of Dodge and try to retreat, but then we would be leaving our forts undefended there up in Belgica. So it's unfortunate that the Arverni player got that event where they were able to teleport basically up to the northern reaches of Gaul and take us out, our last remaining legion there. That sucks. But what can you do? So they did the event. Then we're going to shift eligibility. And now on the next card, the only 2 factions that are eligible are going to be us and the Aedui player. So we're going to be up first, and the Aedui player is going to be second. And this is our options for the event. And the next card that comes up is going to be Avaricum. So I will try to kind of think about what I want us to end up doing. But otherwise, that was the first official gameplay episode of Falling Sky, the Gallic Revolt against Caesar. Again, I know we only made it through 1 card, but these are going to go much faster as the battles sort of cohere in our minds, and we're able to get through them a bit faster. So, daunting deck of cards. I think there will be probably a few more episodes in this than in Cuba Libre. Unless we end up failing miserably early on in the game, or winning. Who knows? We could be lucky. I'm not gonna claim to be great at this game. Just hopefully I'm helping you guys out if you're learning how to play. So until next time, this has been Falling Sky, and I'm Crosstown Gamer. See you later.